Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep the conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, we love seeing you live every Thursday night on Facebook and YouTube, so hello and good evening. The chats are always fun. Might not be able to get to them all, but remember your chats may show up on the show. And as always, if you can't catch us live, catch us in the replay or in your favorite podcasting app. You know me, John Ruart, past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957. And hello and good evening. Next up, Jason Richards.
Hey everybody, Jason Richards here, past master of Vacation Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, and member of Lafayette Lodge number 79 in Zanesville, Ohio. Glad to be here.
Woo! Glad to see you. Since
better to be seen than viewed.
Hey-o! Since we have Joe's name in the title, might as well bring Joe on. Joe Martinez, how are you?
Hello, good evening. Hello and good evening. Joe Martinez, let's see, past master for now of Manassas Lodge number 182 in Manassas, Virginia, a member of other things and stuff. And yeah, damn glad to be here.
Woo. Life master in perpetuity.
No, and no.
You say that now.
It's the LMIP. And special guest for now, friend Clancy, world traveler. Introduce yourself.
Clancy? Thank you, John. I am the past master at Manassas Lodge and the past district deputy of District 4 here in Virginia. And it is great to be on the show and quite an honor to be here with you, distinguished gentlemen. And a little bit of
and Joe.
And Joe. Yeah, I had to throw that in.
Nice.
Thank you,
Got
Joe.
something on your mustache, Joe.
Yeah,
used to be such a great kid-friendly show we had.
Awesome. I think RJ's on his way, but until then, let's get right to the good stuff and thank the patrons who support the show. You guys are awesome. Head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable to get one free hug from Jason Richards.
Yep.
Virtual hug.
Virtual. Your mileage may vary.
Yes.
It's not like, yeah, it's
not
not
valid
like
in Detroit.
Tugs not included.
Right. It's like, it's like that hug to that family member you don't like, where it's like you extend the body out.
Yeah.
It's not like
you come at it from like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
So the naughty bits don't touch. Yeah.
And like, the side cheek.
The side
like
shoulder hug.
Like a sixth grade dance where they're like swaying like this.
Leave room for the Holy Spirit.
That's right. You guys are really selling it. That's great.
Well, I'm going to up my subscription because I want to hug.
And of course, moving from that comes to the best part of the show, which is always the tarot card.
Tarot card of the week.
Never gets old. Never gets old. I'm like, let's see.
Yes. All right. Tonight, tarot card of the week, we have the Golden Art Nouveau Tarot.
Shiny.
Really cool deck. Has the gold foil treatment from Los Scarabeo. And really
Now,
awesome
Jason,
color scheme throughout. What?
For our older listeners, like people Clancy's age and older who are on the show, explain what tarot is. What is tarot?
Tarot is hails from an ancient game of cards played by the Italian nobility in the late 1400s. When the 18th century kind of occult revolution started in France and the rest of Europe, there were numerous French occultists to include Papus or Gerard Uncus and others who and A.E. Waite, who turned the game of tarot into more of a mystical, metaphysical, divinatory type of practice. And so we on the Masonic Roundtable do not practice divination with tarot. We use it much more as a forced perspective frame, because you now have 78 different ways to view a given topic or situation. And so we believe the tarot can provide unique insights, simply through the archetypes that are presented in the deck.
That was awesome. Kudos. You
So-
get it, Clancy?
I'm tracking now.
Okay, good.
He's a lot nicer to
Okay.
me than you, Joe.
He is.
Oh, just wait until next year.
Uh,
All right, and tonight, in honor of the show, I did pick this at random, and it's the card that came up, and I love when tarot does this. We have the World card.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll flash that up on the screen for everybody.
The card. Okay. Whoosh. Okay.
Yeah.
Flashing the card up.
No, I don't want to break my camera.
Okay. Okay. So that's good. Yeah. Again, kind of cool that for the world travelers that we have here, the world card was drawn. It's a nice design too.
Well,
So
but usually endings, it's not just the world. It's like something is over.
Well, it's the completion of the Fool's Journey.
Yeah.
Right. When you look at the major arcana, the 22 trump cards in a not that kind of trump, 22 trump cards in a tarot deck. It starts with the Fool, who is the protagonist on the hero's journey, who starts off fresh, meets the magician and the high priestess and other characters, walks through the theological virtues, meets with change and death and catastrophic change like the Tower, all the way up through the World card, which is the last card of the major arcana, which signifies the closing of the journey, and the fact that the Fool has obtained all the wisdom and knowledge that there is to obtain
Before he starts all over again.
Boom.
That's right. And that's why I really, really like my my other Prisma Visions and Cosmo Visions decks, because the Cosmo Visions is the Oracle deck counterpart to the Prisma Visions Tarot, which picks up at death and moves all the way to rebirth, and so the cycle starts over again.
I like.
Nice.
Who knows?
Yeah,
And
so
Robert,
very, very appropriate card for tonight's topic.
hi, Robert.
We love you.
Guys. Hello.
Hello.
We're stuck in.
Cool. All right, let's do this thing. So, tonight's topic is part of the reason why we were out for 2 weeks, beginning of last month, right? But this month, time flies. Because Joe and Clancy decided to do some crazy, wild things. So let's set stage. Why did you two guys celebrate?
Joe?
Yeah.
Some reason to go somewhere?
So really quick backstory. Clancy recently retired after a bajillion years
Yay.
of work and service. We don't need to get into details. And his wife wanted him to have an awesome retirement gift and said, hey, you should go travel and you should do weird Masonic stuff. And I don't want to do that stuff with you. So I'm going to call your friend Joe, and he's going to do all this weird stuff with you. And so she called. I said, you better check with the wife, because that doesn't sound like something she'd approve. And then so she did. And then my wife came in 10 minutes later and said, so apparently you're going to the UK with Nancy. So that's it in a nutshell, I think.
That's awesome.
I
Good
feel
reason
like
to
it was
celebrate.
more of a present to Mrs. Nidell, that easing her into having to deal with you every day.
That's exactly it. She was a little worried how she fit with me being home all the time. So she sent me off with Joe on the adventure of a lifetime. So I think knowing Joe had contacts and stuff over there. I think that was what initially started it. And like Joe was saying, we had to convince Barb a little bit to go, hey, is it okay? Which she graciously said, yeah, get rid of my husband for me. So, so we got to do this journey together.
Yeah, be nice. Barb watches the show.
She does watch.
I'm being, yeah. And so it was very gracious of her to let us have Joe and then to go over there and to do all the fun Masonic stuff that we got to do, which was truly amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how it started.
That's how it started. And you know, that's not what stays in Vegas, that type of thing. But it was a lot of fun.
So I mean, so basically that was the scope, right? You just said, hey, we want to do a big trip, go overseas, go do some cool Masonic stuff. That's pretty much how it was.
Yeah, she doesn't want to have to kind of, she knew she couldn't attend those meetings if I went or go to some of the things that Joe and I could go to. So she didn't want to like either be in a hotel or something, just doing her thing. So
makes sense. But so you basically had a blank slate. How did you guys then come up with the big stuff you wanted to do?
That's that guy right there. He planned it all.
Well, so it's not all. So I know Clancy has never been to the UK for pleasure, let's say, and
always for pain.
Work.
Just yes. But a big, and I know we mentioned him on the show before. Super huge shout out to Brother Mason Russell from the Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. He is a world traveler. He's retired, and for fun, he started a travel agency and helps people plan awesome trips. He planned my family's trip to Europe a couple of years ago, and I called him and said, "Hey, I'm taking a bro to the UK." He's like, "I got you. Don't worry about it." So told him where we wanted to go. We were thinking we were only gone for what, 10 days total, 9 days.
About that.
So because neither of us, well, he was retired, but I couldn't take terribly too long off from work. But talked to him, told him what we were thinking. So we decided on Scotland and England as the two places we were going to visit. And and then he planned 90% of the trip. I made 2 phone calls to a brother in Scotland and a brother in England, and we planned the rest of our trip around those 2 big things. Yeah, that's it.
Which is cool because, most Masons who kind of have done their homework know there are some, bucket list places that you really got to stop at. So hopefully we'll see some of those on your little slideshow. So
indeed.
Do you want to walk through kind of how your agenda went?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a curated, there's a lot of drinking. So just so everybody knows,
no alcohol in Masonry.
We'll fix it in post.
Ooh.
Outside of the continental United States, drinking and Freemasonry are like glove in hand, man. So
I mean,
just for the record,
drinking in the shrine is they go together.
Just for the record, I will not fix it in post.
And that's okay.
Okay.
So we started the trip, and we're skipping all the boring pictures, and then we landed Brother Clancy smack dab in the middle of Edinburgh, and that was our first.
Skip all the pictures of Joe.
Yes, we took. Well, I'm in a lot of them. So literally the day we got off the plane, we dropped our crap off at the hotel and got dressed and hopped on a train to Glasgow, and which was about an hour and a half away.
About that. Yeah.
Yep. So ended up in Glasgow because we were going to do our very first Masonic thing the day we got there. So a little bit of Glasgow there. We ended up in a beautiful little lodge in Glasgow, right in town. Give a shout out to Brother Robert Sawers, who is a bigwig in Scotland Masonry. He's like a Grand Poobah in Royal Arch and all these other appendant bodies. But he opened his doors to us, and we actually went to a Royal Arch meeting in Scotland. And it was Mary Hill Royal Arch chapter number 296 in this beautiful little lodge. And for those of you that do Royal Arch here in the United States, it is very, very, very different.
I was going to say, Clancy, what was your impressions, takeaway from that?
It was amazing because, like, right from the start, and I mean, brothers, right from the start, I mean, it was like we knew these guys just at our own lodge. you get a nice warm welcome. They introduce themselves. They take you downstairs, and they kind of brought us right into the lodge room and started giving us a piece of their history and talking about their history, which was extensive. There's a lot of lodges that actually meet in that one building, which was really cool. But then the Bruce or Robert right there, they were so kind to us. I mean, they basically made us honorary members. He gave us aprons that night and was like, here, I know you didn't travel with your Royal Arch Masons. And he's like, keep these. And we're like, no, Robert, no. And he's like, no, I insist. But to talk to all the brothers and to actually see, they performed some degrees for us, little different than what we're used to. Just a tad touch here and there, but then in the Scottish accent, picking it up, that was fun as well.
Which was so easy for me.
It was. That was one of the nice things they do at the end of the day. They conduct their lodge and then have a festive board after. So they brought that out, and sandwiches and some old Pulteney, which was, I'm not a big Scotch drinker. That is some amazing stuff. So I really thank those fine brothers to bring that out.
Clancy is now a Scotch drinker.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe had a couple there, but yeah, Robert.
Joe had a few there, and so did Brother Robert. So we all had a few, but
just a few.
We were there till midnight, and like I said, like Clancy said, we walked in and we were like old friends that had not been there for years, and the way they took us in and the way they treated us and took care of us, like we didn't want to leave. And it was our first night in country, and we had a blast.
Yeah. And then they refused to even let us take the train home. They're like, no, we're gonna drive you all the way back, which I'm sure was probably an imposition on them. They just drove us all the way back from Glasgow to the hotel. I mean, it was great.
Yep. So that was literally our first. That's us on the train, because everybody travels by train in the UK. It is a lovely, lovely form of transportation. We were the only people in suits on the train at 12:30 at night. So just looking to get mugged. So that was our first night there. There's a lot of pictures of Clancy eating. He definitely likes to eat. So every morning we had to get him something to eat. Otherwise he'd be grumpy. And our next day we went back to Edinburgh, and we went to the Grand Lodge of Scotland. Nice. Which they also call Freemasons Hall. So awesome Grand Lodge building, tons and tons and tons of history there. So if you don't know, Scotland loves St. Andrew. So for you Scottish Rite Masons, you see a lot of St. Andrew stuff, but St. Andrew is the big dog in Scotland. So you'll see lots of symbolism, lots of sculptures, and lots of artwork dedicated to St. Andrew. And you have to love them. That is, and Clancy, feel free to chime in and cut me off and interrupt. That is a Masonic apron owned by Robert Burns, Masonic Poet Laureate. Robert Burns is huge in Scotland because he's Scottish. So a lot of Robert Burns stuff there. That is Robert Burns at a lodge meeting. That's the painting. That was our tour guide. He was absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say that was Robert Burns.
That is not
Robert. Burns. Really good.
Well, prior to having this guy, we even have a private tour before we met this guy, which was part of the tour as well. They do a phenomenal job of telling you everything on there and talking about that painting right behind him and the exact date. There was a lot going on there. Remember, Joe, they talked about how they have a gentleman in the back who was making refreshments as well as while that was going on.
Serving libations. That lodge building is still a lodge, a current Masonic lodge. So the lodge in the painting is still in existence. Yeah.
And on speaking on Robert Burns, the other amazing thing that they talked about was back then publishing was not something where you went when you took a book to a publisher. You actually had to kind of buy your books ahead of time and kind of guarantee. So he had to get pre-subscriptions. And the guys that all helped him were all brothers. They all bought his book before he ever published Word One. And we found that out there. It was amazing to see. And what really then jump-started was another lodge he finally got going, but pretty much his early subscribers were all Freemasons who helped launch his career. And which was, I thought, a testament to just the brotherhood.
Yep. So yeah, so if you've been to any Grand Lodge buildings, you'll see a lot of the same, but they absolutely love their history, and their history is it goes a lot further back than ours does, right? So there's definitely a lot of older things. They have a George Washington apron in the Grand Lodge of Scotland.
What?
Yeah, they have a painting of him too. They love the George Washington in Scotland.
Do they just love him because he also didn't like England for a minute?
Potentially, that could be it. Yes. I took a picture of this because it looks like the Patriot Lodge aprons that John wears. So I saw that, and that was awesome.
Yeah, it does.
But they absolutely love their George Washington. Yeah. They talked about so Scotland, the Grand Lodge of Scotland has a lot of royals in their history as well. So they enjoyed talking about that. And to your point, they're much more a fan of their own royalty than England's. So but yeah, tons of gifts from around the world, lots of shrine stuff in this cabinet. And Clancy just looking surprised in every picture, which was the goal. Yeah.
Well, the guy who was a French Mason, he had come over. That guy right there that we've kind of got a side profile on. I'm not sure who the other person was with him, but he came over as well, and it was talking to us.
Yep.
How was the gift shop?
It had a lot of scotch. So yeah, not like the gift shop we see here. Lots and lots of scotch. But yeah, so I thought this statue was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Isn't that great? Their library was cool. And the Grand Lodge of Scotland, interestingly, they were really big on their history in the World Wars, talking about lodges and Masons that went on during both World Wars, World War I and World War II. And also all the lodges that they started in other countries, in Asia, in Africa, in India. Really rich history there. Now this is where they actually meet for Grand Lodge. Stunning little room. That's not it. These are
all the past masters. It's where they convene for their meetings. Yeah.
We don't dress like that anymore for Lodge.
It's where he made the comment about well-heeled. Remember that? He was talking because this guy was well-heeled. He was brought up. I was like, okay.
Well, that's William St. Clair. So we'll get to who he is shortly. But he was a past Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Scotland. That's the Grand Master's office, which is in use. The Grand Master was not there that day. So they let us see. But then this is the actual temple room. Nice size little room. Fit, about 200 people?
About that, yeah.
Yep. But I mean, all this stuff in here is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. So they let us sit in the boss's chair. And yeah. So, they have their lineage kind of links up to the United Grand Lodge of England with, they have a lot of royalty that served as Grand Masters. But their masonry is separate. It's not part of the United Grand Lodge of England. So, beautiful, beautiful Quran that was donated to the Grand Lodge of Scotland, which they were so proud to show us. So I took a picture of that. That's Clancy. That's the pose he's going to take when he gets his portrait.
That's never going to happen. But okay.
Yeah, so that was Grand Lodge of Scotland. So that was the next day. So like I said, we only had 9 days, so we went a little crazy and did stuff every day. This is us touring around Edinburgh, St. Andrew Square. Clancy learning how to take a picture, and we stopped in a pub. I think, if not once a day, at least twice a day. So
it's about twice. Yeah. Conan Doyle, another Mason.
Yeah. So Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, a Freemason, very popular in Edinburgh. And we had to show Clancy some history. So we took him to the museum in Scotland, which was cute. Had stuff from around the world.
But weird, in a weird way, Joe. That.
Museum. Yeah, definitely. I think us Virginians who are used to the Smithsonian, we have a different museum for every little thing. They take all of their stuff and smush it into one museum. So you've got
how does that work?
So, well, it's really weird. Like you literally go like one room is ancient Buddhist statues, and then the next room is modern science, and then the next room, it's and then the next room is like 14th century armor.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. You never know when you turn the corner where you're going to end up. They had airplanes 1 minute. Yeah, it's your
dinosaurs in the next room. It was eclectic.
Yeah,
They didn't liberate nearly as many artifacts as Britain did.
We're going to get to that. Yeah, absolutely. We're absolutely going to get to that. Clancy
Foreshadowing.
The Earth is not flat. And
it was a meteorite, right? That was part of a meteorite. I was like, oh, cool. I was hoping for superpowers, I was, get near the meteorite, and it never happened.
So
that's a very underrated movie.
It is. Yeah. So this is we did really touristy stuff. We took those double-decker tour buses everywhere because they took you literally everywhere. So for like 20 pounds, you could visit every single cool site in the city. And you can get on the bus and get off the bus whenever you felt like it. So lots of awesome architecture and history in Edinburgh. Lots of statues and edifices dedicated to Sir Walter Scott, who was another super popular Scotsman. Lots of Walter Scott stuff. That was on a random building driving through Edinburgh. So we thought that was really neat. And that's Edinburgh Castle, where we went next. So lots of castles in the UK, many in Scotland. Clancy did the, while we were in Edinburgh in the city, we did the mandatory thing, and Clancy bought himself a Scottish kilt to wear
in December.
Yes. So handmade kilt to wear to Masonic events. So we did a little kilt shopping.
So Clancy, what tartan did you end up going with?
McDonald is the clan that my family hails from, so to speak. So we went with that one. The traditional, a modern McDonald was the color eventually in the end. But the gentleman was really helpful. He's like, you could wear anything. He goes, it's really not like it used to be, where he said you can wear anything nowadays. Any tartan would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
They told us and they made a big deal about that. They told us that guy there, I'm forgetting his name, but he said that Americans take the tartan thing way too seriously, and the Scottish do not. Like, they don't care. They'll wear, if something looks cool, they will wear it. Like, you don't have to wear just your family's tartan and all that kind of stuff, and you can wear whatever you like and whatever looks good to you. So, but they did say specifically that Americans take it very, very seriously.
Yeah, there's no kilt police coming out saying, hey, you got the wrong tartan on, pal, or nothing like that. So, it was great.
Yep. And then we did a ghost tour at night in Edinburgh. Yeah, that was very cool. You would like, John. We went to, so the stories that they told us, not for TMR, a little unsavory, but had to do with murders and women of the night and things like that. But these are
Jack
real
the Ripper.
So that's
similar
it.
to guys.
Murderers and things like that. But the places we went to were real places that people lived in the 1600s and the 1700s that they had unearthed. So some of them are really tiny, very damp, very sewery. But this is actually a really sad story. So there was a bunch of kids that were killed due to it was kind of like an opium den kind of thing. And they were boarding it all up. And there were these kids, because people would live with their families in these underground buildings. And they inadvertently trapped about 50 kids, and they all suffocated and died. So, so lots of weird, eerie aura in this building. So the ghost tour is very cool. And then we ended in a graveyard, which was kind of neat. And shocker, we ate again food. And we had traditional breakfast and
haggis.
We'll get there. We did do the haggis.
Nice.
Yes, we totally did. So our next day,
we went to the sword.
Yes.
Huh? What was that, Jason?
Did you cut it with a sword?
No, I did not cut it with a sword. Believe it or not, they don't serve it in the actual encasement. They just put it out over some neeps and tatties, so to speak. Just to turn up some mashed potatoes. So,
Yeah, you guys got the good stuff though. It
It was
includes the
good.
sheep's lungs.
It was good. It was good. I'm not gonna lie. It was good.
Yeah.
Can't get
So-
those over in the U.S.
The
You Dan
architecture
Brown
of the
fans?
city is amazing.
Yeah. So anybody who has read a Dan Brown book knows that this is Roslin Chapel. So 15th century chapel. That's Clancy realizing we're at Roslin Chapel. So yeah, really cool spot. It's in Roslin, which is like 2 hours away from Edinburgh. Now they do not allow pictures inside the chapel.
I was going to say, Joe.
So all these pictures just randomly showed up on my phone because they do not allow pictures inside the chapel. So, but if you've seen the Da Vinci Code,
what is the reason that they wouldn't allow images being taken?
Yeah, so I think post, and they had even said this, like the chapel itself was in such a bad state of disrepair that they were scared it was actually going to fall over. But after Dan Brown's book and after the movie came out, they received such a huge increase in tourism that they're flush with cash for restoration for decades to come. Like, but I think now I have heard people tell stories who've been there a few years ago before COVID, and you could go in and take all the pictures you wanted. But for the last few years, pictures inside have been verboten.
They worry about deterioration supposedly, but I don't know how that would affect stone. But
I mean,
yeah, I mean, if you're using
photography,
traditional flash photography has been shown to, potentially damage things like,
correct,
tapestries and things. But with stonework, and you're really going in with usually a cell phone that has an LED flashlight for a flash.
Exactly.
Maybe it's just to preserve the mystique, so people go there.
Well, they, like Joe said, they don't seem to have a problem. Before, she quoted us something like they only had 1,000 visitors a year, if that. Now they're over almost 200,000 a year because of Dan Brown and the American and Hollywood, and so they're quite thankful of that.
Incredible.
Yeah, no, it's breathtaking, and it's not a big building. It is a small building in the grand scheme. Like the Da Vinci Code movie makes it seem way, way bigger and grander than it really is, and they even say that. Like parts of that scene with Tom Hanks were not shot anywhere in the chapel. Like they built sets that made it look like it. But some parts were actually shot in there.
And some at the castle, which we didn't get to get down to the castle there, I don't think.
Yeah. So that is, for those who don't know the story of Roslin Chapel, and if you're a Freemason, this may sound awesomely familiar. There are two pillars in Roslin Chapel. There's an apprentice pillar and a master's pillar. So the story goes, they tell the story during the tour. That's the apprentice pillar. That's the master's pillar. So there was a master stone carver in there, and he was charged to make two really beautiful pillars. So he made this one pillar, which was pretty, but a little bit plain. And he goes off to Italy to learn more stone carving techniques. And while he's gone, his apprentice, who was young, had a dream one night of this really beautiful pillar going all the way up to heaven. So the next day he asked William Sinclair if he could start carving, and William Sinclair said, "Go for it, man." And he carved this beautiful pillar, which is the apprentice's pillar. So about a year later, the master came back and saw this pillar and was so offended and bothered that his apprentice had created something more beautiful than him that he felled him dead with a setting maul right to the skull.
Yep.
That'll teach him.
Yeah, and there are carvings of, I don't know if I took a picture of it, but if I did, it's not.
Yeah, it was hard to get them. They were way up.
And it was not. But anyway, they have these stone gargoyles, one of the apprentice and one of the master. And strangely enough, they put the master's face to look directly at the apprentice pillar for all time. So this dude's got to look at this beautiful pillar that the apprentice made. But yeah, setting maul, blow to the head, felled him dead. Super interesting. There are Mason's marks. So those of you who are Mark Master Masons or in Royal Arch, there are Mason's marks all over this chapel. It was really cool to see. Yep. And these are stones that have been taken out of deteriorating parts with Mason's marks and some other cool things there. But this is definitely, and they talk about this is definitely one of the most pagan-inspired chapels in all of the United Kingdom. There's a lot of art and sculptures that have nothing to do with Christianity. You have the green men everywhere in there. So for those who know what the green men is, there's green men faces all over this chapel. That's me before I get yelled at for taking pictures inside the chapel. And but yeah, that is Roslin Chapel, man. It is that's my second time there. I would go back in a heartbeat. There is this cool aura in this place that you just can't describe. And then we did some more touring. We saw some grave sites and some abbeys. Again, all 13th, 14th, 15th century buildings in and around Scotland. Some beautiful grave sites. And I think when we all went to Boston, right, we saw some really cool old gravestones as well. Lots of skull and crossbones on them as well. So the motif definitely carries. This was
some of those are Templars and Master Masons too. In there, I'm trying to think. Wasn't there one Templar in there? I thought they had in there, John.
Yep. And then what church was this?
Oh, that's the Abbey. Where
Melrose Abbey.
The Bruce, not Melrose. The heart of the Bruce is in there.
Yeah, Robert the Bruce.
Robert
yes, his heart is buried in this abbey right here. So you can go take a picture with it. Yeah, so for those who have seen Braveheart, they love to tell you that 90% of the actual movie is complete horse crap and not historically accurate at all whatsoever. But it was a great film to watch. But they do tell you how lots of that's us drinking again. So we were doing that quite a bit. That is baked potato, my new favorite food. And they will put anything on a baked potato in Scotland. Speaking of Braveheart, we went out to William Wallace's statue. And saw William Wallace, who is very different than Mel Gibson. Does not look like him at all.
Nope.
Yep. And they love to tell us that he is dressed in traditional Scottish tartan attire, meaning that there's nothing underneath that kilt. So if you want to go look, you can look for yourself.
Did you confirm that?
Yes.
We did. And then
mine's got to know, right?
Yes. And then this was where who was it? Was it Sir Walter Scott?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So Walter Scott lived in this area right near the William Wallace statue. This is Clancy sleeping.
It's a long drive
because he was knackered, but
because he woke up just in time for a drink.
That's right.
Yes, he did. Yeah. They love cider in Scotland. They are super proud of their cider. They do like IPAs too, John. So
they do.
There's a lot of pictures. I took a lot of them out, but there's a lot of pictures of so apparently the youth in Scotland, when they are doing their libations at night, they will take street cones and put them on all these old statues in the middle of the night. So when you wake up in the morning, they all have street cones on their heads. So we made sure we got pictures of that, but they're very proud of that.
And it was not Joe and I. I just want to make sure we did not do that.
I would have broken my hip. So this is Edinburgh Castle. So we did some castles. Interesting thing about Scotland, for those who travel to the UK, Scotland does not have very many castles because when Robert the Bruce and William Wallace were taking back parts of Scotland from England, they would recapture a castle. And before they moved on to the next castle, they would raise the castle they were in to the ground so that the English could not conquer it again.
And the Bruce did, so that they couldn't get them. Yeah.
Yep. So not a lot of castles still standing in Scotland. And then they have, like I said, big World War I and World War II history in both Scotland and the UK. There was a museum dedicated to World War I at Edinburgh Castle, and we're not allowed to take pictures inside. It's more like a memorial than a museum. So if anybody had been to, like anybody around has been to the World War I or World War II or Korean War memorials in DC, kind of similar vibe, like memorial statues more so than pretty things to look at. But yeah, so that is Edinburgh. Awesome little chapel inside. That's the only building that was original and not destroyed at Edinburgh Castle was the chapel. Cool spot. And we found a Masonic tchotchke store.
We did.
We did. So we had to go inside. It was all right. And this is
hold on. So like there was just like a Masonic store.
Yep, right on the Royal Mile, which is the big strip in Edinburgh that starts at Edinburgh Castle and goes all the way down to the palace. So it's about a mile long. And just a Masonic tchotchke store.
All kinds of stuff that you'd see like at most of your vendor fairs, but he had rings, he had all kinds of stuff. But
see, we do everything here in the States is all online. It would be so cool to have like a fraternal shop or something.
A shop, yeah.
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 Yeah, that was definitely
Really cool.
unique.
Well, even the kilt shop we went to, which was on the same Royal Mile, first thing I asked was like, "Hey, do you have the Freemasons tart?" And it's like, "Yeah, of course, we got all these different kinds." So, yep, masonry is still kind of cool in Scotland, and shocker, it's Clancy and us drinking again. So that's the haggis.
Yay!
Hey, OG haggis. It was good. It was good. It was good. It was good.
I don't know that looks good. Can you explain? Okay, can you explain what is haggis?
It's just ground lamb. It's ground lamb and oats, and then they'll throw some veggies in from time to time of corn, but really just oats and ground lamb is all that was.
So how
Organ
come,
meat.
why do
There's
people
also
say it's
offal in
gross?
it. There's parts of there's the main thing is ground lamb, right? So it's a more of a meaty dish, but then it does have lung and heart and all sweetbreads, with ground in. But it's most places I saw they served it like a sausage, not like just ground meat thrown on there.
Well, they cook it in the intestines. Supposedly they boil it, and that's how they cook it. And then, but most restaurants, I'd seen them take it out, but like Jason was saying, there's the old tradition that they used to cut it with the sword and kind of like cut it in half, and then you just eat. You don't eat the casing, but you eat it out of there.
Yeah.
But then there's the mashed potatoes and then the turnips, and the turnips are mashed as well with the gravy. It was good.
I'm down for the turnips and the mash, but
if you had shepherd's pie, it was kind of like their version of, I think, a shepherd's pie without some of the vegetables. It wasn't bad.
okay.
Scrapple.
Yeah.
Scrapple.
Better than Scrapple, because I've had Scrapple. It's better than Scrapple.
I don't know what that is either.
Next time you come visit, we'll get Scrapple.
No, we won't.
Pig
Yes, we will.
parts.
So yeah, Conan Doyle, he had his own pub.
Hot dog loaf.
Yes. And lo and behold, Clancy's eating again.
Yay.
And
Did
eating
a lot of that.
That's
So,
all I
yeah.
would do.
And so we took a train from Scotland to London. It was about a 4-hour train ride, but you got to see awesome countryside. It was a really great train ride. Definitely nicer than some trains I've taken here in the States. And they just every 30 minutes they were hitting you with food and coffee and drinks and whatever you wanted. So this is us in London, and we did the little tour bus thing and got to parade around. London is awesome. I'd say London, if you've never been, it's like a combination of, this is going to weird Robert out. It's like New York City plus Chicago, right? So it's got like the Broadway, you got your Chinatown, you got your Little Italy kind of thing, but then nothing is in straight lines, right? It's all like curved around like rivers and stuff like that. So it's got circles and roundabouts, and it's crazy.
Yeah, that's what happens when the metropolitan area like grows up around the populace that lives there.
It's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yep. But so we did a little tour bus. Tower of London, we did not get to go to. That is a cool place if you've not been. Awesome museum and really weird stories.
Well, that was the first night in. We had just got there, and there wasn't, so the tour bus was the best way to kind of get around and see a lot of things fairly quickly. So
we stayed in the, I guess you call it the Lebanese part of town, right?
Yeah, Paddington. Yeah.
Yeah, there were about 300 Lebanese restaurants, and look, Clancy's eating again, and hookah bars. So that is us at Windsor Castle. So we had to go pay homage. The king was not there.
Nope.
But we got very cool place.
He does stay there from time to time.
Does stay there. Also, no pictures inside of Windsor Castle, but I did not care. There's some really, really pretty stuff in this.
I had bail money. I was ready. Just in case Joe got locked up. So.
That's a good insurance policy for most Masons who travel with Joe.
Yeah,
In the Tower of London.
Yeah. It was just breathtaking inside the castle. That's my belly. And sorry for the quality of some of these photos, but they were not supposed to be taken. So yeah. Yep. Sat in the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Throne. Yes, the Iron Throne. Clancy's eating again and sleeping. So when you are retired, what you do is you go travel and then you eat and you sleep.
Yep.
Yes. So next big place we went to was Stonehenge.
Woo.
That was a long bus ride. So we went out to the Henge and caught that Clancy's first time there. Again, awesome place. It was raining, but it was still an awesome experience.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, with all of the places that you went, there's probably brothers who are watching this thinking, "This is cool. I gotta go do this." How are the tourist attraction lines to go through some of this stuff? I mean, does it feel like endless, or does it feel like you kind of get through, like at Windsor Castle, for instance? Like, how was that? Like, how long was the wait? Did you have to like hang out super long time, or lines were crazy? How was that experience?
Yeah, so this was my second or third time there in some places, and I'll let Clancy talk, but we did mostly private tours of everything. So like the visit out to Stonehenge or the visit out to Windsor, they were private tours. So it was like 10 or 15 people all on a small bus. But the tour would take you like to the front of the line here or to the front of the line there. So we really weren't waiting.
I don't know what bus he was on. There was like 60 people on that bus, Joe. Well, I mean, there were quite a few. That was the big bus, right? But
using the metric system, not the
imperial system. But the nice part, about that, like Robert, like you were saying, the tour that Joe picked, this guy was really efficient. He knew, let's get there. We got to get there early. So the bus left right on time, got there. We were the second group waiting in line. And there were only about maybe 20 people in front of us, but they process you through the lines pretty quick. What was nice was he had armbands for everybody. So he went and got all the armbands, got you the armbands, got you all prepped up. And while you're waiting, so the wait outside, we were there before the doors opened. And Joe, you remember what time they opened? It
was like 9.
Yeah, I think it was like 9, but like literally 20 people ahead of us. And that was it, because the company that Joe scheduled it through, and I would, recommend that, because this guy was really efficient. He was like, look, we got to do this, and you have this much time. If you don't, I'm going to leave you, and we're going to got to go to Stonehenge. But on the same hand, he really, after that, everything else went very smooth. He didn't leave anybody behind, but it was just great. This guy knew what he was talking about, knew what he was doing. He got us in and out. And so, yeah. And then he took us to this ancient town. Joe, how do you say that?
How do you say it, Clancy?
It's Laycock.
It is Lecoq, and that was Clancy's favorite town in all of England.
Well, did he tell you why? See, he didn't tell you why. Oh, that's a very wealthy area that town is in. And what's kind of nice about that area is that's where like Patrick Stewart lives and some other famous people, all the other famous Brits, they live in that area. So I was like, Joe, we should drop in and say hi. And Joe didn't think it was a good idea, but
right.
But for a town that's in the 1600s, it's even Harry Potter was filmed there. They kept saying that, but it was amazing to see. It's like going back in time.
So small world. So this is us going to the Roman baths. So the town of Bath is where the Roman baths are. Random picture of a girl. This young lady is American, and she worked at the George Washington Masonic Memorial right before COVID. So she's like, hey, you're a Mason. I was wearing a hat. And I was like, yeah, where are you from? Virginia. And yeah, she worked at the GW Memorial. She was a tour there and for years. And then she moved to England and is a tour person here. So then we went to the Roman baths, which was really cool. I had not seen that before. Mason's marks everywhere.
Did Clancy try to get naked?
We didn't include those pictures in the that's him about to be naked.
That's good.
Oh, there we go.
Keep it PG. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they do have some warnings, but this you can actually drink there.
You can drink from springs. Yep. And that is the town of Bath. That's us eating again. And that's a double rainbow, which you only find in the town of Bath. That's us drinking again. And that is the British Museum. So talking about cultural appropriation, The British Museum is the home of that.
It's not necessarily cultural appropriation. It's more like cultural theft.
Pretty much. So yeah, all kidding aside, there's about 7,000 years of world history in this little building. So, the creme de la creme, the Rosetta Stone, that thing is breathtaking. If you've not seen it in real life, it is absolutely awesome. And there was
Did you read the actual Greek?
Well, you couldn't get. It was hard to get close. So, and I think this is what Clancy was going to say. Like, as soon as we got there, the first thing everybody wants to see is the Rosetta Stone, and it's kind of in the middle, and it is literally enveloped by tourists. Like, you cannot get close. You have to wait like 20 minutes just to get up to the stone because everybody's just surrounding this thing. So, but yeah, absolutely awesome. And all kidding aside, like I said, there's about 7,000 years. They have history here going all the way back to the time of Sumer. All through the present age. Lots of Egyptian things in the British Museum, and we kind of know how they got there, right? So
they always say the only reason the moon is still in the sky is because the British couldn't put it in the museum.
Exactly.
Yeah, an insane amount of history. Like I said, Sumerian history, Babylonian, Egyptian. Well, yeah, thank you, Brother Gary. Amazing amounts of these are original gates from Babylon. For those of you that are Ancient Aliens fans, they have the handbag dudes.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they took everything. I mean, they appropriated everything.
They did. They took a lot. Tons of ancient Israel in there too. More so than I expected. Lots of Greek. They have actual parts of the Parthenon in the British Museum. So if you want to see the Parthenon and don't want to go to Greece, guess what? It's in the British Museum. So lots and lots of stuff. This is the Parthenon Hall. So actual pieces from the Parthenon itself are in the British Museum. These are, Sumerian, lots of history there. That is actually an ancient Israelite burial ground. So that's all original in there except for the actual rock and the carvings. Lots of mummies. So if you can't make it all the way to Egypt, just stop in London because 50% of Egypt is in the British Museum. So that's learning how to take a picture. Lots of cuneiform. That is a cylinder from the time of Babylon. So you Masons who know about, Darius and Cyrus and Nebuchadnezzar.
It's Joe's lunchbox as a kid. Oh,
yeah. That's tea time. So we actually did tea time. Tea time with Clancy. There you go. There you go, Brother Steve. We did tea time at the British Museum.
They did, yes.
Yes.
My first experience. So
yes. Awesome library. I think John would have fainted. I think RJ almost has it beat with his library, but this is pretty close. So, but yeah, stuff from all over the world in the British Museum. We're back in the Lebanese part of town eating. We did ride the tube. We did, and our next trip was to the Mithraeum. So, so for those who don't know, there is a Mithraeum that was unearthed, 2nd century AD or CE Mithraeum that was unearthed underneath the Bloomberg building. So you actually have to go to the Bloomberg building in London. Underneath is a Mithraeum.
A courtesy of the German bombing. I mean,
yes, exactly right. So it was discovered when the Germans were blitzing the city of London. So they unearthed this, but it's actually underneath the Bloomberg building.
So a very recent discovery.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yep. And then, so that's the actual Mithraeum. It's lit. They do like this little 10-minute show, like with the lighting and stuff, and they show you everything that's in there. A lot of it's reconstructed. You can see there's reconstruction bits there. But that's the actual Mithraeum. And then they show you what would have been there. But it's this cool fog and light show that they do when they show you everything that's in there. But yeah, this was actually really cool. My first time here. Very, very, very cool. And that was Clancy after we explained to him what a Mithraeum was. And then he thought it was cool too.
Now, hey, Joe, the actual bowl, isn't that at the British Museum?
Yes. So the statue of Mithras with the bull is not in the Mithraeum. It's in the British Museum.
Or in the British Museum, yeah.
Yep. Good catch there.
So
But
they
yeah,
appropriated it from themselves.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything becomes a fossil. I was scared they were going to lock me up. So,
And then our last day in the UK, we went to Freemasons Hall.
Woo.
And so we started the trip with a lodge visit, and we ended the trip with a lodge visit. So we did a tour of Freemasons Hall. For those that have not been there, absolutely phenomenal. And surprisingly, we ate. And in Freemasons Hall, there is a functional and open bar. So before you go to lodge,
in the lodge,
in the Grand Lodge building, yeah,
Oh,
absolutely,
okay.
a delightful bar.
yeah, public, anyone can come in, have, pastries or a drink or whatever.
Or two.
Or two.
Or three. Yeah, or a cappuccino with a square and compass on
look
it.
at that.
Yes. So
How
yeah,
fantastic.
it is. So we got a private tour. A brother, a friend of ours who was going to be there, got COVID, so he couldn't make it. So he introduced us to the curator of Freemasons Hall, who gave us a private tour, and it was probably one of the best tours I've ever had of that building. Little factoid: he is not a Freemason. So full-time employee there, not a Freemason, but he gave us this amazing tour of all the stuff outside the temple room. Like I said, a lot of this was built in the Art Deco style. So lots of Art Deco work there. And it was built, the first things they built in Freemasons Hall were all these commemorations to the Great War at the time. So the First World War. Lots of stained glass.
Too. That rolls, Joe. If you look at that, you actually can turn that. It would remind you a little bit of the Ark of the Covenant, but you can turn those scrolls, and it actually goes through the veterans and through some of the other people that were listed there, right?
So those were all people those were all Masons that were killed during the First World War.
Yeah.
It has their name and their lodge, and it's this long scroll that you can, manipulate and move. And it's got every single Mason who died during the First World War. Those are the bronze doors that were 2 tons each?
Yes.
Clancy?
Yep.
Yeah. Bronze doors, 4,000 pounds, but they are so well precisioned that you can open them with a single finger and just push it open.
Solid cast. It was just the craftsmanship is amazing.
Yep. And that, as you've seen on YouTube and TV, that is the actual temple room in Mason's Hall. Super, super lots of Art Deco stylings, and all the work done. That's us sitting in the Grand Master's chair. The ceiling is absolutely breathtaking. Lots of Masonic symbols up there. And it is all tile work. So all a little bit
mosaic. Yeah.
Yep. Anderson's Constitutions. They have a museum right outside the temple room. The only copies that we have in the United States were published by Benjamin Franklin. These are the original ones published by brain farting on his name. Not Anderson.
Preston.
No.
Yeah, I think it was.
No.
Was it Preston? I think
No.
it was.
No, it was commissioned by somebody, but Anderson's name doesn't show up in Anderson's Constitutions.
Right.
In the first.
They allow research there as well in that section, which was pretty cool.
So they have a museum section, and that's a curator again. Awesome tour. Lots of stuff about world Freemasonry in Freemasons Hall. So they're not just talking about themselves. They've got American stuff there, as you can see. Huge section on women in Freemasonry. So they have cordial relations with the 2 Grand Lodges for Freemasonry for women there. So they do events together and stuff like that. So a big section on women in Freemasonry as well. And then we got a tour of the library, which is not normally open to the public. And what we learned is any single person, you don't have to be Mason, can go in there and you can check books out. You can do research in this library. And it is an awesome library. I saw there were stuff in there all the way back to the before Grand Lodge times. There were books you could just literally check them out and take them.
Yeah.
Do research. They still had set up, I think we all saw on YouTube and other places, the 1723 Constitutions. They had a big celebration for that. So all that stuff was still in those cabinets there. Cool. Then we went to Lodge, and Clancy and I got to see 2 Master Masons degrees, which were very different. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Very, very different. Yes. Very different than what we're accustomed to, but we saw 2 brothers get raised. Then we went out for drinks, and we drank some more. And then we had a festive board, and we drank there. And that's Clancy eating again. That's Dave, brother Dave. We became best friends, and he sends me inappropriate things on WhatsApp now. So Dave's a good brother. Yes. And then that's us heading to the pub to drink some more. So yeah, awesome brothers, but same experience. We didn't know a single person when we walked in the room that night. And then Clancy, your thoughts?
Oh, it was one of the things that the brotherhood shows you. We literally met the gentleman here behind Joe, and of course the Worshippul's right there. But we literally met these guys for 5 minutes, and it felt like we knew them for the last 50 years, and we were sitting lodge every month with them. They're a great group of guys. It was great to see and to introduce ourselves to them. Like he said, Dave, we gave them our numbers and stuff, but they call us and they talk to us. Every one of those guys, they all went out afterwards just to have a pint with us and to sit and talk and have a little bit of social side of it. But it was just amazing to talk to these guys and to get to know them. But if I ran in any of them, it was like I knew them for 30 years. They're just great.
Yep. And then that's the face you make when you've been staying with Clancy for a week and a half.
Yes.
And that is us fighting, and that is literally the end of our trip. So is us punching each other on the airplane. But no, it was an awesome time. We got to see. This was Clancy's first big Masonic trip. So I will shut up and let him talk about how much fun he did or did not have.
Oh, I had an amazing time, and just to be able to go. And of course, Joe has a wealth of knowledge. So there were things that I didn't even know, or he would be able to speak. Although he did throw me under the bus for the toast at their festive board a little bit, which I was like, but
so they don't have district deputies there, right? So when they asked me who Clancy was, I was like, well, he's a past district deputy. And they're like, holy crap, what is that? What do we do? Do we say hello before the Grand Master or after the Grand Master? I'm like, guys, it's just Clancy. So, so Clancy got many honorifics bestowed upon him. But yeah, no, they really made us feel like we were at home.
And they did. It was a great group of guys. But to be able to go though, and also like Joe has a wealth of knowledge of the area, and having been there before, that helped. But he had a lot of connections, so that also made the trip really nice. But I think even if, say, you didn't have those, you could still go and introduce yourself to any of those brothers, and they would be like. Dave was inviting us back. He's like, hey, don't come back, or come on back, and then you can stay in my house. And
so Clancy, what was the most awe-inspiring or biggest aha moment for you for this whole trip?
From a Masonic standpoint, or from just overall?
Open-ended. What was the biggest inspirational thing that you took away from this trip?
Well, I felt that the Brotherhood, being a Mason in that country, there were a lot of them and a lot of people all over, and it wasn't something that's hidden. And it was great to go around and talk to people, and Joe wore his hat, and a lot of people automatically know what the symbol is. But for me, I think that was the eye-opening part. The brothers, like I said, we just spent 5 seconds. It felt like I'd known them my whole life, and that I've been sitting in lodge with them for the last, and I could go back right now and feel the exact same way. So I think that was, for me, truly shows me what the Brotherhood's about. Amazing culture. So, but that right there, and that was awesome for me. So now I'm going to, every trip I look to take as I go on, I'm going to be looking for something Masonic and to do, and to also tie that in. So. My wife might not like it, but I'm going to always be looking for it.
I was going to say, I'm not going anymore with you. I've had it with you. And
yeah,
the one you're going on next month with Joe is going to be even better.
Well, Joe, where are you going next month?
We're going to Jersey next month, Clancy.
Okay, that's right. Exactly. See? And then what about North Carolina again?
But see, so Clancy is making our point for us, right? It's like, what do we tell everybody all the time? It's like, get out, leave your lodge, and go travel. Now, you don't have to be ridiculous and go to the UK to experience a different kind of Masonry. Like, go across the border, take a 2-hour drive. But it's amazing that you get to experience Masonry in so many different ways. in such a short space of time. And I think we take that for granted, right? Because we all know brothers that they've been Masons for 40 years, and the only thing they've ever gone to is their own lodge, you know?
He's taking pictures.
What are you trying to take pictures of?
You're not allowed to take pictures.
It's his Clancy impersonation.
Well, I was all over the map. I don't. Joe's a pro with that thing. I don't know how
I've
he
just
does
seen
it.
a jerk.
Yeah, I couldn't take a selfie to save my life. But yeah, no, it was amazing. In North Carolina, I was there just this weekend and ran into another brother that knew him, and I was like, okay. And Joe actually knew him from something else. But that's kind of like really to get out and travel and see a bunch of different stuff. The Masonic Center in North Carolina. I was like, what's this for? Well, they just have it because it's a Masonic Center. A bunch of people use it. So,
Nice.
yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, he's
right.
to travel with. He snores. No, it's
Right. So before we get the final parts from Clancy and Joe, Jason, Robert, anything else you wanted to ask or are curious about or want to close
No.
with?
We're good.
I know this has been fascinating. You know, I just love watching slideshows of all these little places that I'll never get to go to.
I guess let me just say this. Those kinds of traveling, this should inspire everybody out there to visit, as you guys were talking about. But what I think is so cool
absolutely
is like maybe you don't have a brother who does education for a lodge. Like he doesn't like speaking or putting together papers. Like if he goes somewhere like this, do a slideshow, talk about the cool pictures, talk about the lodge. Like I think even that is so cool. Like, I don't know. I just love hearing these stories and about your experiences. And now I guess I don't have as much FOMO as but now I have to go do this thing. So yeah, very cool, very inspirational. And I'm glad you guys went. This was cool.
Nice. All right, so Joe and Clancy, wrap it up for us.
I'm gonna let Clancy have the last word because he likes to talk. But no, I would just say it was actually phenomenal.
Hot meat kettle.
Where do you think I learned it? But yes, so for those who don't know, I definitely Clancy has been a mentor of mine for years, ever since I started getting back into Masonry, and I found the lodge that I became a member of. I've looked up to Clancy from the day we met. He's been just such an amazing part of why I continue to want to be a Mason. And there's been a couple of times where he's actually stopped me from walking out the door. So, you know, nothing but good things to say about him. But it was actually awesome to see Masonic travel from someone who had never done it before. It was actually awesome to just get that, you know, that first time experience and to watch it. It was an amazing trip. Like Clancy said, it was a trip of a lifetime, and I'm so glad that he asked me to be on this trip with him. So
I'm the one who's blessed, Joe. You took me and you put up with me, and so thank you. And Robert's 100% correct. I think this is something for everybody to kind of take away. I think whether it's here, it doesn't have to be over to Scotland. It can even be right here in the States. Masonic education is important. I think it's amazing the stuff we learn and learn about our brotherhood. And if you're just kind of hiding in your own lodge and not kind of getting out to meet, I think all those other great brothers that are out there, you're missing out. That's the true treasure. Meeting all these brothers. I mean, it was fabulous. And thank you, Joe. So
leave room for the Holy Spirit between you two. All right.
Yep, definitely.
Hip to hip.
All right, guys, that was fantastic. Thank you guys for like bringing us in as part of your journey together, because that was you know, certainly an exciting trip that most people won't get a chance to go do. So I'm glad you were able to share that with us.
Wow.
All right, so see you next week.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
keep searching for more light. Have a good night.